Life Map Video, Volume 2. Yeah, I think so. Alright, so I worked on it a little bit. Thought about it anyway. See how, I guess I can get about that close and things stay okay. So there's the word life, yes, you see. And this part works out pretty well. So, I mean, obviously reproduction is sort of what qualifies the word life. Living things reproduce, that's why they're alive, mostly. And to reproduce, they obviously have to consume. So even if you split in half to reproduce, you have to do the consumption thing. And so obviously if you're making more complex organisms, you gotta consume to do it. And what does that require, essentially, right? It really is about, you need tools to do this consumption thing. So tools is the next thing. I mean, you obviously need them to do the reproduction thing, but the tools you need for that are pretty crude and simple. It hasn't changed much in billions of years, actually. You know, just little wiggly DNA, you know, chasing after the egg, and it's basically the same mechanism for a long time. Not the tool, pretty simple, you know. Yes, something to stick in the hole, and you know. Really simple. Anyway, so most of these tools have to do with this consumption thing. You know, being able to successfully consume so you have the opportunity to do this reproduction thing. And so this is really the game. The tools are for that purpose. So obviously a bunch of tools could come off of here. You know, teeth and whatever, stink. you know, lots of different ways to get through life. You know, tool-wise, but behavior is a really important tool. You know, being able to navigate your environment and figure out what your food does and how to get the most out of it, and then also figure out what your adversaries are doing and being able to mitigate against it. So you need to behave in some manner if you're going to be able to do this consuming thing and to do the reproducing thing. And the real game with all this behavior stuff is a reflex, some sort of reaction. Something happens at this end, and then something happens at the other end. You know, and the toolkit of the primitive organisms was crude. You know, a little wiggly tail, little shoot some waste in the face of your adversary, some kind of crap like that. Really simple. You know, you poke me the wrong way, you hit the wrong button, and I do something funky. And so it's all reflexes. And essentially, even though we're really complex, we're just reflexes. Everything that comes in, my brain has a chain of programmed reflexes that will dictate a behavior, a reaction, let's call it. And the reaction could be eternal, just an emotion, a feeling, provoked hunger, provoked desire, provoked something. And then that is acted on again by another set of reflexes that dictate a behavior. I'll go like this for some reason. Yeah, that's the behavior. Anyway, so that's programming, dictates how the reflexes are arranged, so it filters our behavior so we can do the consuming efficiently, so we can reproduce. And that's the genetic design. So this programming thing, now all of a sudden you're at a, this is where, oh hell, I don't know where to go from here. Because you get into different things. So you could say, probably needs another branch off of here, but I got 3 branches. The 2 key words really are repulsion and attraction, right? And technically, yeah, it's really just this repulsion thing. Because the attraction thing is basically you're just seeking one thing, and that's comfort. So, you know, the attraction is sort of a small element. And then when you get into things like desire, you know, it's another kind of programming, another reaction, another reflex, is this provoking of desire, which is basically just hunger, you know, which is addiction, in a sense. It's a reoccurring hunger, like food and sex, you know, food and sex, food and sex. Yeah, it does all come back to the beginning. But so I put this in the middle because it's kind of these can be benign-ish in flavor, or they can be harsh, depending on just how deprivated you are. The sense can be, anyway, that we can have a sense that it isn't so bad having a desire. Wanting can sometimes be fun, quote unquote. But the other side of the programming is this repulsion word. Goes with the attraction, repulsion. And that has lots of negative incentives, physical pain, unpleasant sensations. Then the more complex ones that we label, fear and disgust and hate. But the whole point is they get us to this point of discomfort. And so that's really the mechanism for the sentient organism, anyway, is comfort and discomfort. And the mechanism of establishing the effort to prevent or eliminate this discomfort so you can be in this comfortable state. And that these mechanisms of hunger and desire disrupt your comfort and oblige you to do something, or you will become uncomfortable. You will experience discomfort if you remain unsatisfied for too long or too hard, in too negative a way. And so another branch that would come off of this programming, I suppose, or I haven't figured out where to bring it out, would be obviously our capacity to conceptualize, to have a programmed, meme-based, culturally defined, perhaps, or confined, let's say, confined by culture and our language and the stories we grow up with, that we have these reflexive reactions to words and concepts, ideas like spirituality, concepts like ambition, some sort of dissatisfaction or discomfort with one's competitive position, small penis syndrome, needing to be something, wanting, more than what you have, or wanting to be something other than what you are. Running into the problem of this dissatisfaction, discomfort with your position, because you don't have enough of these things that are defined as the things you desire. And that's the basic function of the brain, is to keep you motivated, to keep you engaged in playing the game, to be a winner, to do this consuming and reproducing effectively and better than the competition. So competition is going to be a key word in that programming, in that element of the psychology, in mitigating against becoming. You can't just be satisfied with your circumstance, because then you might as well be dead. I mean, being alive is being dissatisfied in a sense, needing to do, to change, to advance your condition, to take your discomfort and reduce it. Even if you don't come to some point of being comfortable, you want to become less uncomfortable. And so anyway, so there's psychology in here that'll bend into something else. But yeah, I have to work on this a little bit. I like the idea that they flow together and it comes out with discomfort and discomfort, and how we interpret those with our conceptualizing thinking mind, how we understand this psychology, these motivating reflexes that are controlling our behavior. So in here does have to be ambition, where hunger bends into a more elaborate reflex, that has a defined, you know, a sense of it that we sense because of our narratives, because of the stories we tell. You know, we need to be the hero, or we need to be, you know, the Jedi, the thing with the power, the tendency to know status. And a lot of animals apparently do know that status. Wolves, there's a dominant, you know, there's a hierarchy, and there's the alpha, and the betas know they're betas, and the same is true in many animals. And sometimes it's learned through real physical defeat. You know, you run at each other with your horns down, and somebody wins and somebody loses, and the loser gets a sense of his inferiority, and the winner has that sense of superiority, and that sometimes will even create physical manifestations inside the animal where they physically will change based on winning or losing. They'll become even more, their physique will match their attitude, but all that's in this psychology of being this kind of organism that has a psychology. But this is all the game is doing, and it's just to do this consuming so you can copy yourself and die. It's a very crude purpose, very crude function, and all of this stuff piled on is just stuff piled on to a mechanism that just contrives a need out of a function. It just says the function is now, this is what you do, and you will do what's necessary to do that, or you won't exist. And so the only things that will reproduce are the things who are actively going to play the game by the game rules. And there's nothing until you get to this human form where we can map it and understand it, where we can evaluate and say, is this a game worth playing? And I think logically, when you really look at it, when you really look at what it's made out of, which is just crap, it's not a game worth playing. Anyway, that's volume 2 for now. I work on it some more, do better. Yeah, it's part of the compulsion to do better. Yeah, psychology.